What's going on, movie fans? Welcome to Movie Rounders Live 80s edition. I'm Matt, Daniel, Bethany, and y'all. Welcome back. Tony, he's back from his surgery. Tony, tell us how you're feeling.
Back from the dead. I had a total hip replacement, so that means I'm old. So I'm just up the alley for this 80s show. Back in time.
All righty. So we're happy to do an 80s show for you guys tonight. We're going to go back to a decade where I was born, so I can technically call myself an 80s baby, even though it was right at the tail end of it. So just going to mosey on over here. I'm going to send this comment out. Y'all make sure that you comment over here so that we can read your comments over here. So we can read your comments live on air. We're going to show them up. And we're going to start off this show with what 80s movie deserves a remake? Now, I'm not big on remakes or doing a bunch of them as Hollywood loves to do, but Tony, since you're back, get back into it and tell us which 80s movie deserves to be remade.
I think for me, and we're kind of getting it anyway, I went back and looked at the 80s because I am old and it's been a while since I've made. But there are a lot of amazing movies during the 80s. There's a lot of movies that you're seeing 2, 3, and 4, and 5. As far as the versions, they started in the 80s. So there was a ton of great original stuff that kind of came out. But I lean toward the action side of things. So for me, Top Gun is a great movie. And I'm thinking, boy, it'd be really cool if they redid that now with the newer technology. And we're kind of getting that with Top Gun 2 coming out. So for me, I'm going to say Top Gun, and I'm excited. I know if you watch the trailer of the new Top Gun, it shows a lot of the same scenes. It kind of feels like they've rehashed the same storyline. So we're kind of getting a brand new a remake of the Top Gun. So that's what I'm excited about.
All righty, Top Gun. So we're getting it, and Tony thinks it deserves to be remade. So that's good for Tony.
And so does Tom Cruise.
So Bethany, go ahead and tell us.
I think that Clue. I think they're doing a remake of Clue, or at least like a reboot of it. Maybe I misread something somewhere, but I think Clue needs a remake. First of all, it had a really cool concept of they had 3 different endings for theaters, so not everyone saw the exact same ending. I think when they released it to home, they had like the VHS had every single ending on it. But I think with this day and age and modernizing it a little bit, if you wanted to, or you could even do like set it back in another time, like 80s or 90s or 70s or 60s or whatever floats your boat. I think that would be neat. You could get it really. I mean, it's a black comedy, not black horror. It's a black comedy movie, so I think we're due for something that's a little dark but fun at the same time right now, considering everything that's going on. And yeah, I just think it'd be fun, especially if you up the ante a little bit or do something like Ready or Not, which I have talked about ad nauseum lately as one of the best movies of the last decade. But yeah, I think Clue would be fun.
All righty, that's great.
You can play the board game.
Yeah, I swear, like I saw something where they're doing a new one. I swear I saw something, but I could be wrong.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will eventually. All right, Daniel, what do you want to see remade?
Okay, I think that it's being remade, and I was afraid for a second that Tony was going to take mine, but it would have been okay. But like the movie that I want to see remade, just because of the sci-fi technology and the special effects and all that, that's just out of this world now, that it could literally be done right, is Dune. I love Dune, the movie.
Yeah.
I was looking it up to see if somebody was remaking it, and I believe they are remaking.
Yeah, it is already remade. It's just waiting for release.
Yeah.
So I mean, that movie is phenomenal, like with the sandworms and the people with the blue eyes and all that stuff, and that's going to be a magical movie that needs some really good sci-fi and special effects. So can't wait.
If you haven't seen like some of the promo posters for that, Google Oscar Isaac Dune. Right. He looks phenomenal. Plus, there's Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, and other people that I can't think of the name. But yeah, it's coming back, Daniel. You're getting your wish.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah, I'm excited. So,
hopefully, it comes out next year.
I can't wait.
So I came into tonight with 2 picks for remakes, just because I knew Bethany would have stolen one at least, because she's always stealing my answers. So Clue
You
was
stole
definitely
all my answers last week.
Clue was definitely was going to be my pick. Luckily I came with a backup pick. It's not a movie that a lot of people have heard of. It's actually a movie that I watched with my grandmother. That's why I've seen it. Otherwise, I would have never heard of it myself. It's called Brewster's Millions, and it's a Richard Pryor movie. And
Yes.
the basic concept of the movie is he has this rich person who dies, I believe a family member, and he gives him $30 million and says, you have 30 days to spend $30 million. And if you spend all of it, then you'll get the family fortune of $300 million. But you can't tell anybody why you're spending it, and you can't tell anybody about $300 million. You just have to try and get rid of it all. And I think if you take one of our comedic actors in today's comedies and you remake that for a new generation, and obviously use more money because $300 million isn't that much anymore. We got billionaires. So, I think if you took another comedian and you just revamped that movie up, and I love the original with Richard Pryor, but I think a lot of people in the new generation haven't seen it. It could definitely benefit from a remake, and just listen to that story concept. I mean, just watching John Candy the entire movie, trying to figure out why he was spending all of his money and trying to get him to stop. You should all definitely watch Brewster's Millions if you haven't. So
I vote for Chris Tucker. I just want to throw that in there. He would be hilarious.
So let's see. We're going to go through some of these comments here. My mom, love you, Mom, says she's looking forward to Top Gun 2. Darby, who filled in for Tony, said Weekend at Bernie's. What do you guys think about that?
Oh yeah, love that idea. That was one of my picks for one of the better movies of the year for that decade. Yeah. Really funny. That would be fun to see again.
Y'all want to see the Never-Ending Story remade?
Of course.
Yeah.
I don't know because they could ruin it.
It was one of those movies that was ahead of its time, trying to do special effects that it couldn't quite pull off. So it'd be neat to see that with a budget now. So.
Yeah. I don't want them to ruin it though. It's like if they did, if they remade the original Star Wars, even the prequel Star Wars, I think that they would ruin it considering what they've done recently.
Yeah. I think I look great. I look like a 80s Chad. Will.
You're nailing the 80s. I love it.
In Brewster's Millions, couldn't you just donate $30 million to charity?
He can only donate so much.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of rules of what he could and couldn't do.
Okay.
You can only donate so much, but what happened is John Candy kept taking some of his money and investing it so he would make more money, and that's the problem. Spoke for Dune, Brian says.
Yes.
Phil says, Die Hard, make it a Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie.
Oh, bless it.
Alrighty. We've got Tim Burton's Batman was right at the end of 1989. Coming, we saw those reports that Michael Keaton would be coming back. So we'll hopefully hold on and see if he does come back for that. These came in while I was talking about Brewster's Millions. So all of them agree Brewster's Millions rules, but that's already a remake. So I guess it was
a remake of an
older movie. So it could get a remake of a remake. There we go.
Who says you can't do that? You know. I mean, how many Friday the 13th have there been?
A lot. I think at least 12 or 13 were on. So there you go. Ben Affleck is out, and Robert Pattinson films are standalones. So talking again about DC. 300. Yes, I do have 300 million just chilling around.
Matt, share the love, bro.
Yes. The last Starfighter. If I had 300 million, I would just get rid of these 3 and do my own show.
All right. Good luck getting those views.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they come for Chad, as you can see. Indiana Jones 5 is still happening, supposedly. So, yes, just going through all of your comments here. Keep them coming. We're going to move on to our next topic of the 80s, and that is what actor or actress was your MVP of the 80s? I'll go ahead and I'll kick us off with this one. As I didn't watch a whole lot of 80s movies. It's not really my biggest genre or decade. decade of movies to watch. It's got a lot of good ones. I'm more of a 90s person myself. So when it came to MVP, I had to really go back and be like, all right, what movies did I watch and who was in a lot of them? Then I thought, who was in some movies that I really loved? So this guy he wasn't in a whole lot of 80s movies. He was in a few, but I really only picked him for 2 movies, and that's because they are 2 iconic characters that he played right at the tail end of the 80s, and Tim Burton helped him tremendously go from a comedic actor to an actual serious type actor, and that is Michael Keaton. And I picked Michael Keaton because of Batman and Beetlejuice. Both of them are iconic movie characters for me.
Totally different. Somebody you would not have cast him for. I mean,
right. Then, like I said, Michael Keaton was the comedic actor from Mr. Mom and all that, and now he's playing Beetlejuice and Batman. So he definitely stepped it up there in a very different way. Showed very different acting talents there. Batman is great because of the whole cast. Jack Nicholson as the Joker is amazing, but Michael Keaton was a very good Bruce Wayne, if you will, and a very good Batman. But him as Beetlejuice, I would love to see him play Beetlejuice again. It was out of this park, great. So I'm going to go with Michael Keaton as my personal MVP. So, Daniel, who would you say?
Okay, I'm going to tell you this. I lived through the 80s, and like I remember all the heightened fervor around all the big people and all that stuff. So, but for me, when I was actually experiencing it, like it's like a close choice between Chuck Norris, who was like in every movie that we could rent. Like when I was a kid, it was like every weekend we rented Chuck Norris movies, and it was just literally like nothing but Chuck Norris nonstop. We were obsessed with Chuck Norris when I was a kid, and I'd probably also had to say Robin Williams as far as like guy goes. But like for ladies, I'd probably say my go-to lady was Leah Thompson. You know, she was like the hottie of the day, and like she was amazing and a brilliant actress. And she still is. I'm just saying, like, of the time, it was probably like a Chuck Norris and a Leah Thompson. So,
all right, Chuck Norris, Leah Thompson. Bethany, who would you say?
Well, to kind of compliment Michael Keaton, I think if I'm remembering the right Batman movie, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, that was Batman Returns.
Yeah, okay, got it. Nailed it. No, I think Michelle Pfeiffer is she's just a legendary actress, and she's an amazing actress, and she was in a ton of stuff in the 80s, and I love her. And yeah, I just think Michelle Pfeiffer is one of the standouts from the 80s, female-wise, and then male-wise, I think it was Brian that mentioned it in the comments, Harrison Ford with Star Wars and Indiana Jones and everything else he's done. So
yeah, iconic.
Iconic. Very iconic, yes.
Iconic people.
Tony?
I still remember Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. I mean, she still pulled off the best Catwoman ever. I mean, that was wild. To kind of go with Daniel's Leah Thompson, you said, I think is, for me, when I think of the 80s, I think of wholesome sitcom, and then moved into the movies, Michael J. Fox. I mean, he to me kind of represents the 80s and what we saw. For me, he was close to my age, and it just, I look back on it, we had Back to the Future 1 and 2 during the 80s, and he just, for me, I think about that, and with all the stuff he's gone through with his and I'm not even sure what it's called. Is it multiple sclerosis he ended up with, or
cerebral something?
But what
ALS?
He's dealing with from a physical standpoint, and still out there, still trying to act, still doing this stuff. I mean, he was poised, in my mind, to be someone just as iconic as all these other actors, and was kind of shot down in his prime. So, but the dude was amazing. So,
just going through some of your comments here, we've got the two
Parkinson's. That's what it is. We named everything else but Parkinson's.
Yeah.
We got the two Corys, Corey Feldman and Corey Haim.
Yeah,
that's a great pick. Yeah. Kurt Russell. The Thing is one of my favorite movies of all time. So,
Tron or
we got Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy had a lot of big hits in the 80s. He also helped with SNL. John Candy was one that I was definitely thinking about. John Candy was amazing in everything. Let's see. We've got Molly Ringwald. She was the Brat Pack star of the 80s.
Yes.
Sleeping on Corey Feldman. Yep, Goonies, Gremlins, Stand By Me. Yeah, Corey Feldman was really big. And then we have Tom Cruise here. Tom Cruise Tom Cruise is great in every decade that he's in. Yeah. We got a little Dirty Dancing going on here. Patrick Swayze. Yeah, that looks like pretty much what we got here in the comments. And yeah, a lot of the commenters said Parkinson's. So thank you guys for helping us out with that. So we're gonna move on to our next topic here. So those were our favorites, MVPs of the 80s. So thank you guys for commenting down there. Now we're going to move on to our favorite movie scene of the 80s. This is probably the one I was most stoked to find out some of these answers because I'm waiting for somebody to talk about that one movie that he loves to talk about. So, Tony, why don't you tell us what you're going to pick? Because I'm pretty sure I know what's coming.
Everyone's favorite Christmas movie?
Yeah, that one.
Favorite Christmas movie? For me, it was Welcome to the Party, Pal, where he throws the terrorist out the window. It lands on Sergeant Powell's car, who's been sitting there singing a Christmas song, by the way. The window and shatters, and he throws that thing in reverse, and it starts swinging back, and they're cutting my car up like Swiss cheese. That scene was amazing, and that iconic look of him looking down on him saying, "Welcome to the party." It kind of ends the first act, and it kicks in the second act of that movie, and for me, it's iconic.
All right, I figured Tony was going Die Hard there, so we'll go with Daniel next. Daniel, what is your favorite scene in the 80s?
Okay, well, for me, it's going to have to be the scene in Secret to My Success where he was running from the mailroom back to the, it was like back and forth, and it was set to music and the whole thing. It was just so much fun. I mean, to me, that's a great movie anyways, but like that particular scene where he was trying to race to get upstairs and downstairs at the same time, and then the music, it was all timed, and it was just like a brilliant scene, and that's probably one of my favorite scenes ever, like in a movie.
Right. I haven't heard of that one, but Daniel always throwing out those movies I haven't heard a whole lot about. So
yeah, we can always count on Daniel for that.
Definitely gives me a new new movie to watch every time. Just going through these real quick. The Johnny
we'll enjoy it.
In the future. That's good. Let's see. Don't Put Baby in the Corner from Dirty Dancing. We've got the scene from Never Ending Story. Terrified her as a child. Scene from the 80s, just about anything from A Christmas Story. I'll go with my scene next. It's one of my favorite movies. And I know I've talked to Tony ad nauseum about it because Tony hasn't seen this movie. It's definitely the bike scene from E.T. Going over the moon with the John Williams score. It's my favorite score in a movie of all time. It's a perfect moment for me, just running away from everybody. They just fly out there. They have the beautiful moonshot just flying down into the woods on their bike. And it's definitely my favorite 80s movie scene of all time. All right, Bethany, favorite 80s movie scene.
Can anyone guess what it might have to do with?
I figured.
Darth Vader's reveal as Luke Skywalker's dad. The most iconic movie scene in existence, more than likely. Just everything. Even though everybody quotes that was like my second choice, actually. Except it wouldn't be the duel. It would have been Vader telling Luke, "Tell your sister I was right." That is one of my favorite Star Wars scenes ever. But most iconic shot of scene of the 80s is just Vader telling Luke that I'm the dad, and even
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, whatever. Even though that's my job here is spoilers. So, but even though everyone quotes that line wrong, like that's not the actual line, but in pop culture, it's become the Luke, "I am your father," which just speaks to how huge that scene is. So of course it's my favorite. Plus it has to do with Star Wars. And if I don't talk about Star Wars at least once a stream, then like I
Did the stream really
combust.
happen if we don't talk about
exactly. If I don't talk about Star Wars, it doesn't even matter.
We got Sylvester Stallone ending the Cold War in Rocky IV. We got the dance scene in The Breakfast Club. Definitely love it.
Yeah.
So we also got the geek writing the letter and reading it out loud in The Breakfast Club. We got Tom Cruise in his underwear. I told Bethany before we started it was either dressed like Chad or I was just going to come out in my underwear like Risky Business. So y'all missed out on that show.
Exactly. If y'all would get together for the pre-show, y'all could hear these interesting conversations Matt and I have.
Josh and my brother would definitely get along. My brother tells me about this scene all the time in Friday the 13th. We got Top Gun, lost this loving feeling scene. Great. There's my brother, Friday the 13th, part 5, every scene in that. Looking through, just making sure I
Hey you guys. That's one of our comments.
Oh, there it is. Hey you guys from the Goonies. Such a good year, 1985 for movies. And then whoops, it got lost. There it is. And thank you for not doing that. Well, you're welcome, Darby. All righty, so we're going to move on to our next category. And this one is, what's the best movie song of the 80s? So there's a lot to choose from, a lot of really good songs out there. I'll start us off with this one.
Okay, Matt.
I don't think I've started this off yet. I'm definitely not going to pick first. I promise, Bethany. I thought a lot about this, and I thought, well, you got the classics, you've got your Danger Zones, you've got your Footlooses, basically anything Kenny Loggins wrote in the 80s. And I thought to myself, which scene just made me feel really, really good? So this song isn't just made for this movie, but I still watch it. And when the Cleveland Indians went to the World Series, I watched it, and I prayed they would let Charlie Sheen walk out to this song and go to the mound to pitch. It is definitely Wild Thing from Major League because that whole scene is just great. Everybody sings. The owner is just so mad every time she hears it. Wild Thing is definitely my favorite song of the 80s, and that scene is amazing. So now we go to Bethany. Bethany, give us your favorite song of the 80s.
Irene Cara, Flashdance, What a Feeling. How do you get better than that? I was actually listening to that on repeat at work today. I was like, looking there, I was like, what are some good 80s movie songs? And of course, we can't forget anything from The Little Mermaid, but which came out in the 80s. It's an 80s movie.
Yes, it
89. Is. But yeah, Irene Cara's Flashdance, that and Fame, the other main song from that movie, are both great. But I like What a Feeling more than anything else. So.
All righty. Hold on. We're getting a bunch of comments here, so hopefully I don't spoil your guys'. I'm going to throw some of these up here before I lose them all. Ghostbusters, definitely an iconic one. Phil with Deo from Beetlejuice. I thought about that one. That one was probably my second pick. We got Don't You Forget About Me from The Breakfast Club. Beverly Hills Cop theme song. St. Elmo's Fire. So, Daniel, go ahead and give us yours before I go through some of these. I just didn't want to lose them all in the comments.
Yeah, no worries. I kind of thought the same thing. I was like, oh, man, there's so many good ones. But I went with Roadhouse, the movie. If y'all know Jeff Healey,
Yes.
There's a song called Angel Eyes.
Angel Eyes.
And my God, Jeff Healey is amazing. And that song for that movie just set the tone. I tell you, it's just a phenomenal 80s song. If you've never heard of Jeff Healey, look that up because it's rocking. It's good.
I definitely love Angel Eyes. And when I go to name that tune down here, they love to play that song as well. We got the Imperial March. Everybody loves the Imperial March.
Yeah.
Time of My Life from Dirty Dancing. That one's iconic. Fight the Power from Do the Right Thing. That one's a good one. Tony, what do you got for us, sir?
I'm kind of like you. I was leaning toward the Kenny Loggins stuff with Footloose and then Danger Zone from Top Gun, but I kept looking and going through some of the different movies, and really for me, because it was such an iconic movie, from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, during the ending scene on the bus, it's called "Oh Yeah."
Did someone comment
Not the
that
one I thought you were going to go with, but okay.
That's in secret to my success, also.
Yeah, amazing song, and it just ends the movie so perfectly. So
I thought you were definitely going to say "Twist and Shout." When you said Ferris Bueller, that's what I thought you were going with.
From Ferris Bueller, but that ending scene where they're playing that, and the principal is sitting there, and she wants to hand him the warm gummy. I mean, so perfect.
We got Absolutely Not Wild Thing. We got The Power of Love from Huey Lewis. Back to the Future right there. I know Darby talked about earlier Johnny Be Good in Back to the Future, but Darby also told me that we better pick Back to the Future for everything, or he was going to be very mad. So he's going to be very mad. Ghostbusters. Yep, we got that one in there again. Power of Love and Footloose. Let's see what else we got. We got Somewhere Out There from American Tail.
Also, Why Should I Worry from Oliver and Company. It's the song that Dodger sings. Why Should I Worry from Oliver and Company. Oh, yeah. When he first meets Oliver, Dodger's just going around the city.
Flash Gordon, of course. Dream a Little Dream. There we go. That's good.
That's good.
All righty. And then
925.
Holiday Road. Gotta love Holiday Road from the vacation movies.
Yeah.
And anything from the Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
9 to 5. So
Dolly Parton, classic, no matter what.
Definitely got a lot of good comments coming in here. We thank you guys for those comments. And those were our favorite movie songs of the 80s. We're going to move on now to our fifth topic here.
Already.
Underrated movie of the 80s. Well, I figured the last topic we're going to talk about for quite a while. Me and Tony. Most underrated movie of the 80s. Tony, what is your most underrated movie of the 80s?
Can't Be Die Hard.
It's not underrated.
Yeah. I saw someone list this earlier when we were talking about maybe the best movie that would benefit from a remake, and that someone in the group listed it, but it's The Last Starfighter from 1984.
Yeah.
It starred Lance Guest, who's in a bunch of different movies. He was in one of your Halloween movies and stuff like that. But for me, I was 14 at the time. He's playing this game, and he ends up getting the top score on it, and that ends up initiating him into this being whisked away and then actually becoming a true starfighter to save the galaxy. And the special effects in 84 were really great. It was pushing the kind of edge of what you were used to seeing. And I don't remember it getting a lot of play, but for me, I love that movie. And as a gamer at the time and still a gamer today, I think back on it really fondly. And, while he's up fighting, they leave a clone of him, an android with his girlfriend. I mean, it was all around. It was a great movie.
All righty. I've already said mine earlier. I was going to pick Clue for my remake, and I was going to save the other one for my underrated film. But since somebody stole Clue from me, it's definitely Brewster's Millions, y'all. Go watch Brewster's Millions. It's great. I explained about it a little earlier. Definitely watch it. It's definitely underrated and should be remade, should be watched by a whole bunch of people. Brewster's Millions is my pick. Go ahead, Bethany. Tell us what you got for underrated.
We need to talk about your brother's comment, though, about Grease 2 being underrated.
Oh, well, he loves Grease 2 more than Grease. So
no, sir. No, sir.
And I love Grease 2 also. I don't love it more than Grease, but Grease 2 to me is a pretty good movie itself.
I got to tell you, looking at movies, that thing was constantly in the top 10 worst of the
year.
Oh, yeah.
The songs are so much worse. They make fun of it in Glee, the TV show.
Hey, Grease 2 wasn't that bad. Grease 2 is still pretty good. It's not as good as Grease as he likes to claim, but it's not a bad movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways,
when you lose Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, you lose the power of the movie, in my opinion. Michelle Pfeiffer, yeah, she was phenomenal. I'm just saying, Olivia Newton-John, come on.
I remember as a kid after watching Grease, writing a note to Olivia Newton-John and mailing it to her, just putting Olivia Newton-John. I was so startled by her.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The Grease 2 stands are out.
Commenters are disagreeing with y'all.
I mean, they can disagree, but it doesn't mean they're right. So
real quick, because I'm losing track here. Go ahead, Bethany. Hit it up.
Okay, my most underrated movie. I have two. One I've already mentioned, Oliver and Company. It's like one of the best cartoon movies ever of all time. So if you have not watched it ever, you need to watch it. If you have not watched it recently, go and rewatch it. It's super cute. It's about this little kitten, and he's like part of this like. It's no, I'm not even explain. Just watch it. It's so cute. It's very feel good. It's adorable. It has a happy ending, so there's that. But it's so cute. It has some really really good songs too. The other one,
is that an animated?
Yeah, it's animated, and I think it's done. Oh, I can't think of who it's done by, but it might be the same people that did like All Dogs Go to Heaven and Before Time, possibly. It's not Disney or anything like that, but it's very good. It's very cute, and I highly recommend it for kids' movies. Not really a kids' movie. Is the adaptation of Bret Easton Ellis's Less Than Zero, which does not have a happy ending, technically speaking. I didn't know this. I asked my mom a couple years ago, like, hey, can I rent this on demand? Because I was really into Robert Downey Jr. at the time. And she's like, you're not going to like the ending. And she was right. I didn't like the ending. I was very sad. But no, that's a fun movie. It's got James Spader. It's got Robert Downey Jr., obviously. And those two are great in the movie, especially as James Spader as your villain, your 80s villain, pretty classic 80s villain, and then Robert Downey Jr. that kind of like foretold his very hard time in the 90s and early 2000s, but with a less than happy ending for him. So yeah, if you haven't seen that one, definitely check that one out. Not with your children though.
All right. Yeah. Daniel, what's underrated in the 80s?
Okay, the most underrated but amazing movie that was ever created in the 80s, and I may have mentioned this before, and I love this movie more than life itself, is UHF, the movie. It's Weird Al Yankovic in a comedy genius film. He's given the deed to a TV station from his rich uncle, and he goes absolutely nuts. It's got everybody. It's got all the up and emerging comedians that hit in the 90s in this movie. It's got a cast of like 40 people that are just like phenomenal stand-up comedians and people that actually had TV shows and amazing movie careers in the 90s and the 2000s and the 2020s of the world. I mean, this is one of the best movies ever made. I'm sorry. Yeah, in 2010. But it's one of the best movies ever made. And where was it in the 80s? Nowhere. Nobody heard of it. I actually had a VHS copy of this UHF movie at one point. And it is phenomenal. If you've never seen it, you've got to see this movie. It will make you laugh. Can you say the
name again, Daniel? Because I missed it.
I'm sorry. No, it's UHF, the movie.
Oh, UHF is the name of the movie.
Yeah, okay. The name of the movie. UHF. It's Weird Al Yankovic, and it's phenomenal.
Okay.
You got to see it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through a whole bunch of comments here because we have a whole bunch of movies. Howard the Duck.
That movie's horrifying. Have you seen the Duck in that movie?
Howard the Duck is what you might hear about it here on the next one. Fast Times. Is
that Ridgemont High?
Yeah, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
Inspired a scene in Stranger Things season 3.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely did.
Yeah. Tron. We got The Goonies. Love The Goonies.
I don't know if The Goonies is underrated, though.
Yeah, it might not be underrated. A lot of people love The Goonies.
It was blown out. Yeah.
The Fog terrified me.
Well, it's like a cult classic now. It may have been underrated in the actual 80s and 90s, but now it's a cult classic.
We got Taps. Oh, let's see.
I
see a whole lot of these. The Watcher in the Woods.
Pretty in Pink is in here.
We got The Outsiders. I really enjoy The Outsiders. I actually had to read the book in high school, and I just watched the movie instead. It really helped.
I read the book in 8th grade, and I refused to watch the movie because of what happened to some characters. It made me very sad.
Xanadu?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
on the roller skates.
Oliver Twist with Billy Joel bops.
That's Oliver and Company.
Yeah.
So that, yeah.
All Dogs Go to Heaven, as you talked about earlier.
A classic.
I got a Weird Science. That actually was a pretty good movie during that.
I love that movie.
We
Yeah.
got The Naked Gun, not really underrated. A lot of people love Naked Gun, Weird Science, Pretty in Pink. Yeah, going way down here. We got Clash of the Titans,
The Fox and the Hound.
The Fox and the Hound.
Another sad movie.
That one's very sad, yes.
Super sad.
And then Darby coming in with The Natural down here. A good baseball movie, Robert Redford. So, yeah, those were some of, I believe, underrated movies that we were talking about there.
Yes. Underrated.
So, now it's about to get real. Now we're going to talk about the best and the worst movie of the 80s. And we're going to let Daniel and Bethany down there go first because Tony and I are going to go down. So, Daniel, tell us your best and your worst movie of the 80s.
Okay. Well, I mean, for me, it all comes down to what do I want to see? Like, what could I turn on the TV right now from the 80s and watch it and never get tired of it? I mean, like, never. I could watch this movie forever. And that movie for me is Raising Arizona. I love it. I love Nicolas Cage in this movie. It's just so well acted. It's a brilliant movie. It's a Coen Brothers movie. It's like one of their beginnings of their career. It's a phenomenal movie. It's just like a beautiful, it's like a work of art. So that, to me, that's the best movie of the 80s is Raising Arizona. Just because I love it so much.
And this is going to blow you away. I've never seen it.
I've never heard of it. So
Raising Arizona is good.
You don't know what you're missing.
It's peak Nicolas Cage.
If you like the Coen Brothers, you are missing one of their best movies ever. Like, I'm not even joking with you. I'm serious. I'm like being as serious as I can be. But like the worst movie, I hated Howard the Duck, and I hated it. Somebody else chose that. But God bless that stupid face, and it was just so bad. And then
we're looking at most traumatizing movies. Howard the Duck.
Yeah, I mean, and it was just, and then they had all these like scenes where they tried to make it like be with women and stuff, and I'm just like, it's a duck, come on, it's like it's awful. It was like boring. I just on so many levels, it was really bad. But anyways, I hated it. Yeah.
Yes, Howard the Duck was definitely a bad one, and Raising Arizona is a good one. So Daniel, those are two very good picks. You got no argument from me here.
Daniel's on point tonight.
Bethany, what do you got?
Okay, well, let's go with another classic for best, Heathers. The original, like, teen, like, mean girl, comeuppance movie. Winona Ryder, Christian Slater. Everything about that movie is great. It's quotable as heck. I love that movie. I'll watch it anytime, any place, anywhere. I think I watched it recently on Netflix too. So if it's on Netflix, go ahead and catch it. The musical is pretty good too, from what I've heard. I don't know about the TV show they did recently. I heard that wasn't good. And sorry, I just read a comment that's kind of traumatizing. Yeah. But if you're on YouTube, you can see it there. As for other good ones, Friday the 13th, the very first one, and Lost Boys, those are also two other very, very good 80s movies. Worst one, The Punisher with Dolph Lundgren. They changed the source material a lot for it, and I'm like super biased towards the recent Netflix TV show of it, the TV series they did with John Bernthal as Frank Castle. But I don't think the 80s Punisher is that good. They really, really changed Frank Castle. It didn't make a lot of sense. There's just stuff that happens in that movie that's not great. And yeah, I'll stick with 2010's John Bernthal, who is like the epitome of the Punisher. And one day Matt is gonna let me do a Netflix like TV show episode. I'm gonna get to go on about John Bernthal as the Punisher one day.
Thomas Jane is the Punisher, first off. So
No, John Bernthal is the Punisher. And if you have not watched the Netflix Punisher series, as well as the Daredevil season 2, where Punisher shows up, you don't get an opinion. Now, Matt and Tony.
all right,
Ding, ding, ding. Round one.
I'll go first here. I'll go with my best and my worst. Because for the best, I basically just had to look at my 80s timeline that I have. You can look right behind me. It's definitely The Empire Strikes Back. It's the best Star Wars movie. It's the best movie of the 80s. Bethany talked about it earlier, the twists, the turns. It has the lightsaber battles, the Luke versus his father, everything about the whole Star Wars franchise. Not everything, I guess. A lot of stuff about the Star Wars franchise is great. Empire Strikes Back is just at the top level of it all. It's easily the best movie of the entire 80s. It's number 3 on my 100 greatest movies of all time list. So it's definitely Empire Strikes Back. The worst, I thought about Howard the Duck. I really did. I figured it would be said in here. But I had to really go back and I had to look at my list and see what just got bottom tier worst movie of the 80s by far. And it is definitely Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Okay, the first one, iconic. The third one is my favorite. The fourth one's okay. You had New Nightmare that just re-revolutionized everything. I even love Freddy versus Jason. I like all those, but Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 is one of the worst turds I've ever seen in a horror movie, in a movie, period. It belonged in the 80s because it was very 80s made. It was very, very rough to watch, very bad. It is the ugly stepchild of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And they've got some bad ones in there. But Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 is definitely the worst of them all. Wish I didn't have to watch that one every time I watch the franchise all the way through again. So, yeah, those are definitely my best and worst of the 80s. And Tony, go with your worst and then give us your best.
So I'll start off with it's a George Lucas film. The visual effects were by Industrial Light and Magic, one of the best special effects companies in the world. Starred Leah Thompson from Back to the Future fame. Starred Tim Robbins from Shawshank Redemption.
Before Shawshank Redemption, don't you throw him out yet.
Directed by William Hike. And you're like, oh, William Hike, you know that name. No, you don't, because he never directed another movie since. And it was Howard the Duck. Easily one of the worst movies of all time. And I'm like you, Daniel. I love Leah Thompson. I thought,
yes,
she was, but oh my gosh, trying to make her out to be this punk rocker and then acting against the duck. And it was trying to be an action movie, trying to be a comedy movie, trying to be a love movie. All about it was just all wrong. And it was like when people found out that Lucas was going to bring a Marvel character to film, everyone was so excited. And then he chose Howard the Duck instead of the rich tapestry of Marvel characters that you could have brought. But in my mind, easily the worst movie of the 80s. And so much in the Avengers, I can't remember which one it is, where it ends with the Howard the Duck scene.
Yeah, that's one of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. I almost had a physical reaction. That's how I'm sitting there. It's like, how dare them even bring that back? But yeah, for me, Howard the Duck, the worst.
Yeah.
Go ahead, say it.
Okay.
So,
it was hard because the 80s were so chock full of great movies. When I go back, it just blew me away, the kind of things that they were coming out with. Die Hard, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Aliens, Back to the Future, Lethal Weapon, Raiders of the Lost Ark. The choices were just amazing. But it would be inconceivable for me not to say The Princess Bride.
Wow.
What?
I did not see that coming.
Easily.
Wow, that's cool.
Easily, for me, the best movie of the 80s. It's a movie I can watch with my family. It's quotable. You can do any one line from that movie, and anyone that sees it will bring a smile to their face. It's got amazing characters. I mean, for you, Matt, it's got Andre the Giant in it.
I love The Princess
me
Bride. I
too.
did
I
not
watch
think that's where you were
wrestling.
going.
I watch wrestling too. Don't leave me out.
Me and my daughter will do lightsaber battles here at the house, and I routinely will go, aha, and I'm not even left-handed. And I'll switch hands with them. It's like we'd go back and forth. She's like, quit saying that. But it's like I love that movie, and I'll tell you, my wife hates it. She doesn't like the humor in it. She doesn't get it, but it is for me one of the funniest movies of all time, and I love it. So.
All right, I definitely love The Princess Bride. I thought you were going Die Hard. I thought we were going to have a round.
Well,
Yeah.
the top action movie of the 80s. No Die Hard, but
As long as The Punisher is the worst action movie.
Well, let's go through what our commenters said over here. Let's see. Trying to get all the way back up here. We got a lot of comments. We thank you all for your comments. We got Back to the Future, and you know that Darby said his favorite is definitely Back to the Future. And I enjoy Back to the Future, but it's not my favorite. Worst, Next of Kin. I've never even heard of it.
Never heard of it.
that was
the Patrick Swayze movie.
yeah, that was a Swayze movie. Yeah.
Police Academy.
Never heard of it.
Funny.
All right, Daniel, this one was for you. Lexi was going to comment on your shirt, but you threw it out the window. Howard the Duck is bae.
Someone just exposed themselves as a furry.
Yes, Raising Arizona would watch it right now. So there you go. Phil says The Thing, easy, not even close. The Thing is
Worst
great.
or best?
Best.
Oh, the best?
Yes,
Best?
it's a great movie. We got Best Young Guns, Worst Top Gun. Lexi's just coming with all the smoke here.
I like both
The
of them.
hot take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Spicy.
We got Best Breakfast Club. All right. Phil says worst movie statistically is Friday the 13th, Part 7, but I still love it.
Oh, no,
All right. Jaws the Revenge is the worst.
Is that Jaws 3D or
That's
Are
Jaws
those-
4.
It's so bad.
Jaws 3D? It might be worse.
Yeah, both of them were bad.
Yes, Matt. Tom Jane Fett.
For the win is what he meant. He typed
For the
it
win.
after.
So yes. Tom.
No, it's John Bernthal.
Talk about the Punisher
I mean,
again.
Jason Darby can be wrong.
Thomas
And so
Jane.
can your brother.
And we
They
have,
could just all be wrong.
we have Sarah coming back to help you out there.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We got
Ooh.
Empire Strikes Back stole its twist from Halloween 2. Okay. I believe Empire Strikes Back came out first, though. So, worst Despised Like Us.
I like that one.
I don't know what that
I think
is.
that was Chevy Chase. Ferris Bueller's Day Off for a standalone 80s movie, Back to the Future, and anything Star Wars are in a league of their own.
Also a good movie. I don't think it's an 80s movie, but it's a good movie.
Y'all forgot Scarface.
I love Scarface.
Mm.
Yeah.
My little
rat.
Stand By Me. Stand By Me is a great movie. I love Stand By Me.
That was it.
Let's see. What else do we have? A lot of agreements with Daniel here. Tony, going back to your Guardians of the Galaxy. Howard the Duck has 3-second cameo and in Endgame. Oh, yeah. So he was in Endgame for 3 seconds.
Yeah, you can see him like coming through when they're coming through all the portals. Spoiler alert.
I think they were trying to fool everybody, and I think they were trying to make it think they were doing like Donald Duck or Disney somehow flipped in there or something. I don't know.
No, that was Howard.
80s was the best. Tony, I agree with your best too. I do too. I didn't think
that's his new name is Tiny. Tiny Tony.
We're gonna call you Tiny.
Tiny Tony.
I definitely did not think you were gonna say The Princess Bride. I love The Princess Bride.
Oh, it's great. I love it.
That was
Brian says shame on me for not mentioning The Princess Bride.
Tony coming with Princess Bride is like the plot twist at the same level of Darth Vader being Luke's dad. Like, was not expecting that.
It's
Superman 4.
Really classic. I mean, I actually want to go watch it right now. It's so good.
It's great.
Superman 4, The Quest for Peace as the worst.
Ooh, that was a stinker.
Yeah.
Is that the one where he got hurt, or did he get thrown from a horse and that's how he got hurt?
He
He got thrown from a horse.
later, but do another movie for 20 years after that Superman movie. I mean, it killed the franchise.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Best never-ending story were 16 Candles. Anybody 16 Candles John Hughes fans in here?
I've seen it. I don't think
like
I have an opinion on it though.
It's a good chick flick. I mean, it's a like a
Josh Do the Right Thing is my favorite from the 80s. Tony, what are you laughing at?
Nothing.
So,
Tony?
I think we went through all the comments here. The 80s, as you can see, was a very, very good decade. It's got my favorite sports movie in Major League in it. It's got a lot of our favorites in it, a lot of stinkers in it too. Die Hard.
A lot of things that started off some amazing franchises.
Yes. I was surprised we didn't see Aliens. And he mentioned Aliens. That was in the 80s. Nobody's saying anything about Indiana Jones, really. With Raiders or Last Crusade. So
I guess because those are such big movies. Like a lot of like if you think 80s, you think of those. And so it's like you're trying to find something that's not like, oh, that's such a cop-out answer. Like it's not. They're good movies and everything. It's just
I'll tell you another eclectic one that's just kind of out there, but Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, I love that.
Out of context for what the kind of role he would normally play. It was more funny, and it was for me. I remember going to see it and just being. It was such a weird, and quirky kind of film, but it's still something that I think is really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all. That is our best and worst of the 80s. And we thank you for joining us for 80s movie night. Give us a comment. Let us know what kind of other decades or genres or what else you want to see us tackle. We're all movie topics until they decide, hey, let's Star Trek rules, Matthew Milner, Stat Wars drools. Okay.
Well, I've never heard of Stat Wars. So
I'm gonna call it Stat Wars. So that's our 80s night. Let us know if you want to see
counting movie.
Let's see. Let us know if you want to do another theme, another decade, genre. Until they start releasing movies back out in theaters or on VOD, we're going to do old movie topics for y'all. Let us know if there's a movie you want us to review. They did send out the news that Bill and Ted 3 will be put straight to VOD. So once we get that watched, we will definitely give you our review of that.
Keanu Reeves looks like Alan Rickman as Snape because of how much of the Photoshop they did on that poor man.
Yeah. But we thank you guys.
That's one of those where it's going to be really good or really bad.
Yeah. Mulan, it delayed indefinitely, even though Disney has a whole streaming service.
Yeah. But thank you guys for watching. We thank Tony for being back with us.
Yay!
And look forward to him. Maybe next time he won't throw me for a swerve. I had a whole fight ready to go, and he just swerved.
You didn't get to have your argument.
Yeah, he just swerved me like that. But thank you guys for watching. We are Movie Rounders. Visit us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. We have our own website, movierounders.com, Twitter. We're on all of it. Just go to Movie Rounders. Follow us, like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that. And we thank you guys for watching. Until next time.